Hello and welcome to the 23rd round of the 2016 PCC Cup Series here at the Charlotte Motor Speedway in North Carolina. With just 3 races remaining on the schedule, it's getting to crunch time in the championship. Qualifying on the pole for the first time all season is Cale Bernhardt Jr. with Hank Jr. Wheat Farmer on his outside there. Ben Atkins and James Hewitt team Ben Atkins sweep row number 2. Taking a look at row number 3, you've got Tom Wilson and Israel Bruce makes it 3 Ben Atkins cars in the top 6. Alex Phillips there in row number 4 with Mark Burt. And in row number 5 are Akio Gifu and Alina Lazareva there starting in 10th. Taking a look at the PCC Trucks race, which happened last night, Ryan Jeffries qualified on the pole, but we did have an incident early on. Zachary Fitzwater gets into the 28 of Chris Benson there, and Isaac Michaels in the 4 goes around. Big incident there. They'd get that sorted out. Dale Kensington Jr. would take the lead late from Mason Yokoyama and would go on to take his first career PCC Truck Series race over Dan Leckliter and Mason Yokoyama. These are the 3 drivers who are still eligible to win the championship in the Truck Series. And the Light Series happened earlier today with Sam Burkhart winning the pole over Dustin Oliver there. Sam Brown Racing swept the front row. We would have 3-wide racing throughout the entire field for the majority of the race, 3 by 3. But when green flag pit stops happened, Damon Jones miscalculated and took out Pat O'Hannigan there in the 11. Gabriel Messena, however, would have a great run and take the lead away from Dustin Oliver, and he would take the win over Justin King there on the outside. And there are still 15 drivers who are eligible to win the championship in the PCC Light Series with just 2 races to go, so that championship is still wide open. And with that, Bernhardt's going to lead the field to the green flag with the 70 car of Wheat Farmer there on his outside. 70 gets a good jump off the line, and Bernhardt's going to fall back just a little bit, but he's going to get help from Atkins and his 2 Johnson Racing teammates of Wilson and Phillips on the bottom there, and he's going to pull alongside Wheat Farmer once again onto the backstretch. This is the first time that the 51 is led since he got the win at Euro Speedway Lausitz. He's going to pull alongside Wheat Farmer once again, and he's going to push up the track. That car is already looking kind of tight, and Wheat Farmer is going to take the lead and lead lap number 1, but Ben Atkins going to battle back on the bottom there. Makes it 3 wide with Wheat Farmer going high. He's going to get stuck on the outside of Bernhardt there, but Wilson is going to get help to the lead from Phillips and is going to lead lap number 2. Bernhardt, I mentioned earlier, is struggling with a tight race car. He pushes up into Wheat Farmer, comes down into Jefferson there, and he's going to fall back even further. Your pole sitter is not looking strong here today, and that race car is not looking like it's fun to drive at all for Bernhardt Jr. Stuck there on the outside, and he's going to keep losing ground to more cars. Your championship leader, Ike Durbin, running in 9th place on lap number 4. This is a 125-lap race, and it's going to be interesting to see how these tires wear, as a lot of teams were struggling with tire wear in practice. After about 20 laps, the bottom is no longer a viable line. As here is Ramsey Cockiner of the Nice Cock Racing team. This team struggled all through practice and qualifying, and it looks like those pace struggles are going to continue into the race, as Jerry Myatt and Daniel Sharp have both lost the draft of the lead pack. Here's Donnie Olson, first time back in this car since Grand Detour, and Sergei Yakovsky was in that car for Decatur. He qualified very poorly, but in the practice charts, as the run went on, as he got more laps on his tires, he got faster until at the end of his tire run, he was the 5th fastest of all the cars on track. So Donnie Olson going to be one to watch as this race goes on, as Wilson holds the lead over Ben Atkins, but further back in the field in 38th, here's Carter Fitzgerald making her 2nd career start. 38th place, running the 2nd of the Matthews Motorsports cars. She's doing decent here today, still hanging on to the pack, as Tom Wilson side by side with Ben Atkins going down the backstretch, and Atkins looks to be finally deciding to challenge for the lead, but Wilson hangs on to it there. These cars are already starting to push up the track. Tire wear already getting pretty bad here by lap number 8, and Atkins not going to lead that lap, but he's going to make another effort at it and go to the bottom and try and take the lead, and he's going to do so. Pushes up the track there a bit. Looks like the 71's getting a bit hungry back there, and the next lap, Phillips is going to make it 3 wide for the lead, but he's going to push up the track into Atkins there. Oh, that's some contact. Looks like Phillips goes through the grass, hits a bit of a bump there, and he's going to merge back on track. That was almost a huge incident. good on Phillips for hanging onto that car and not losing it, but he's going to lose quite a bit of ground and fall back to 5th place there, going on board with Wheat Farmer, seeing what happened. And it looks like Phillips just pushes up the track, makes some contact with Atkins there. He goes through the grass. Good of him to stay low there and not cause a bigger incident. Good car control for the 71, as here's the 52 car of Lenny Jacobs. He made his return at Decatur, and he's running up in 20th place right now. Not sure if he's going to be in the series next year. He has made no indication that he wants to extend his contract, which is due to end at the end of this season, so we'll see what happens with Lenny Jacobs. Here is John Jefferson ring up in the top 15. He's had a pretty strong run. Oh, that's a bit of a slide from the field, but Jefferson is the best running of the Steffens Racing cars. He's got Preston Bell right behind him, and this team is making a pretty decent effort to show that they still belong in the series. They are last in the team points and would be one of 2 teams relegated. Now, Accelerator Motorsports, on the other hand, is not having quite as good of a run. Greg Woodard is the best running of their cars in 26th. So this is not going to be a very good day for Accelerator Motorsports. Maybe they've got the long run pace, but it hasn't looked promising in practice or in qualifying for them. This week has been not great for Accelerator Motorsports, as Ramsey Cockner is getting ready to go a lap down on lap number 16 of 125. So that tells you all you need to know about that 69 car's pace, as he is a pretty good back marker. He's going to stay high and let the rest of the field go by. Jamming up the 31 there, he almost slides it into the wall, but looks like the 31's finally going to get around him. They're going to make it 3 wide going around the 69 car. Here's Tom Delgado in the middle. Oh, that's Cameron Taylor making contact with him, and there it goes sideways, but they save it. 3 cars saved it. That was an incredible piece of driving from Tom Delgado. Going to go on board with Donnie Olson and see what happened here. Yeah, it just looked like the 39 pushed up and they were fighting over the same real estate, and somehow both cars managed to save that and not cause a huge accident, as Ben Atkins has taken the lead, and looks like he's doing all that he can here today to close up the gap in the championship, as you've got Akio Gifu there in 2nd place having a strong run, and HJ Wheat Farmer in the 70. He was announced this week to not be returning to that team. 70 car is not going to be Clayson Enterprises next year. The buyer for that team is going to be announced after this race. Here's Ben Worthington in the 6th car. He's doing a pretty decent job here today. He is in 33rd place, but he recently announced that he will be returning to that team next season. As HJ Wheat Farmer, I mentioned before that he's not going to be returning to Clayson Enterprises next year, in whatever form this team will be in. Again, the buyer for the team will be announced after this race. So he is doing all that he can to impress any potential rides for next year in this Cup Series. At the 1/5 mark, it looks like cars are already starting to struggle with their tire wear as Tom Delgado pushes up into John Jefferson there. They're both going to go into the wall. That's a lot of damage on the 3 car. No caution, but they keep it going, and Jefferson and Delgado are both going to be off the pace here. As going on board with Cameron Taylor, looks like Delgado just started pushing up the track and didn't realize that Jefferson was up there. Jefferson gets into his right rear quarter panel and just sends him sliding into the wall as Taylor scoots by on the inside. That's another incident that he managed to get through, as looks like we've got a battle for 2nd place, as HJ Wheat Farmer in the 70 is going to make a move on the bottom of the 466, who's being held up by Jerry Myatt in the 969 car there. As, oh yeah, bottom is not coming in anymore, as you can see there, that slide from Wheat Farmer. These tires are pretty much shot. At this point, you'd have to run either the middle or the high line to make any kind of meaningful gains. As you see there, Gifu is struggling to pass the 969, but he would eventually be able to do so. Speaking of struggling to pass cars, Ben Atkins has gotten up to the 169 car, but his tires, he can't make any gains on the bottom there. And Daniel Sharp has been able to hold him off for the past lap or so. And this is understandably frustrating for Atkins, as look, he makes up the ground, but Daniel Sharp keeps powering back on the high side. He is allowed to do that. He is still trying to stay on the lead lap, so 4 laps later and Atkins still hasn't gotten around him. Lap 35 here, and Atkins finally makes a move on the bottom and is going to pass Daniel Sharp with some difficulty, I might add. as Daniel Sharp is still there on the outside, but Atkins finally clears him coming off of the turn. And these tires are wearing so badly on the bottom. They have no grip down there. All of the grip that they have is up in the middle and the high line. As one of the few cars to be able to make the bottom line actually work is Brian Gallagher, who's won several times this season at Phoenix. He's won at Indianapolis, and he's won at Rockingham, so 3 times this year. And he's come up to the front, but we've got a caution, lap number 38, and we're going to take a look and see what caused that. As Akio Gifu got stuck behind Ramsey Cockiner there, made it 3 wide with James Hewitt, and Hewitt is going to make contact with Cockiner. That's Preston Bell also involved, but they keep it all straight and going. Minimal damage for all of those involved. We're going to go on board with Tom Wilson and see what happened here, as it looks like, Hewitt just pushed up and couldn't control the car. There goes Gifu getting in contact with Preston Bell, and they'd all get it straightened out. However, there would be another incident coming to the caution. Dan Ferre gets into Kelly Blackwater, who stays in the gas going through the grass there. It's going to hit pit road, hit the inside wall, and shoot across the track. That's Carter Fitzgerald getting involved and going out of the race, and that was an idiotic move by the 35. The only excuse I have for this is that her throttle possibly could have gotten stuck. And you can see here, she does let off the gas a little bit, but keeps it on the throttle. What was that? There was no reason for that whatsoever. And Kelly Blackwater would be called to the steward's office after that incident. In the pits, looks like Duncan Cobb's having some ignition issues on that 79 car from 25th. He would not return to the track, and that would be the end of the day for the 79 car. Tough break for the 79. He was having a pretty strong showing, and that's going to hurt him in the championship, as James Hewitt, who was involved in that last caution, took the lead on the restart. He did come down pit road, but was the first car off, as he leads over Ben Atkins and Louis Ballard there in 3rd place, as we've got a gaggle of cars with Daniel Sharp. We did start single file, so Daniel Sharp did start near the front of the field. As Lenny Jacobs has worked his way up into the top 5, great run for him so far, as his tires have not worn quite as much as the other cars. He did take a little bit of a gamble on pit road, did get out faster than some other cars, but Ike Durbin making a move on the bottom there, and he's going for that championship with his sights on Ben Atkins. Here's Clay Gibson having a pretty strong run, considering that he's more known as a road course ringer, but he's up in 13th place, having a great run. So Gibson, not sure if he's going to be back with this team or whatever incarnation of this team is going to be in the series next year, so he's doing all that he can to impress any kind of team owner that's looking for his services next year. As Ben Atkins trying to make a move on the bottom there, but here comes Ike Durbin with help from Alex Phillips. He's going to make it 2 wide with Ben Atkins, and if he passes him here, that's championship swinging in Ike Durbin's favor, but looks like he's still struggling on that bottom line, and Atkins is going to hold the lead, or at least extend his gap in the championship, as Donnie Olson has worked his way through the field. He is already up to he's up in the top 20 right now after starting way back in the mid-30s, and he's battling with Ian Elias there. That's Mark Burt, who qualified up in the top 10, and Frank Azaretto, as this 65 car is making that bottom work. You can see there he's getting around Ian Elias with ease. As here is this is Gaspar de Souza, who was one of the championship contenders in the midpoint of the season. He's in 30th place, so he's having a very rough day here today. And I think if he stays back there, you can say that his championship run has pretty much ended. So tough break for Gaspar de Souza, who after a few runs, middling runs, is not going to contend for the championship late, as Tom Delgado is going to go a lap down. That's a lot of damage on that 3 car, and he's been off the pace ever since that incident, as he's going to let the bottom go there, holding up Ben Atkins. Louis Ballard gets by. There's Brian Gallagher on the inside, and just holding his line and letting everyone go. Tough break for Tom Delgado, and one of his last few starts. He is switching over to a team ownership role in the Light Series next year, as the top 5 are all cars up in the top 6 in championship, with the exception of Alex Phillips. So you've got Hewitt, Gallagher, Durbin, Ballard, and Atkins up there, but very strong run for Alex Phillips, who is breaking up the championship party up here, and he is currently 20th in points, I believe. But this is a strong run for the 71 car, and he's looking to continue this momentum into the next season, as Gallagher is going to make a move on the bottom to try and get around James Hewitt, but Hewitt keeps battling back on the high side. Looks like Gallagher not going to lead that lap. Hewitt's going to hold on to it on the high side, but Gallagher trying to make that bottom work as best as he can, but we're already a few laps into a run. This is almost 30 laps into a run, lap number 63, and looks like Gallagher is falling back. He's going to slot back in line there. He did make a good effort, but he's going to try and get him off the corner here, but now that run's going to stall out once again, and Hewitt's going to keep leading. Good battle side by side up at the front of the field. They've been side by side for a few laps here now, and Gallagher is going to try and make it work, but man, Hewitt on that outside, he just keeps holding on to it, and he's going to keep the lead. As a number of cars up at the front of the field are championship contenders. However, at the back of this pack, you've got Andy Lambert, who's been hanging on. There's Barbara Burt in that unsponsored 366, and Tom Wilson up there as well. Wilson in the top 10 in the championship, but these other couple cars are in the mid-teens. You've got Israel Bruce up there, who not been very great in this series so far in his few runs, but James Hewitt's going to have a problem from the lead. That's a big issue with that 155 car. Tire has gone down. He pushed it a bit too hard, and that's a very tough break for James Hewitt. He was up in third in the championship. Going to be interesting to see if he's able to recover from this, as looks like this is going to be a long green flag run. He might be able to swing this in his favor, but Ike Durbin's going to take the lead, and Brian Gallagher trying to fight back on the bottom and take it. He's been trying to lead a lap this entire time, but hasn't been able to do so. That high line has been constantly thwarting his attempts to get the lead, but Ike Durbin holding it now and going to see if he can win this battle. As still side by side there with, he's got some help on the high side from Alex Phillips, and he's eventually going to clear Brian Gallagher and take the lead here, and going to make it his own as he puts a car length there on the 49, is able to get it going. Yeah, that was a tire on the 155 car, and he's going to come out of the pits 2 laps down. That's a really tough break for the 155 car. Taking a look further back in the field, here's Cameron Taylor having his worst run of the year since setting foot in the 39 car. He is in 21st place, so that tells you a lot about how his season is going, and why a lot of teams are interested in hiring him for a full-time position in their lineups next season. His teammate Brian Gallagher, on the other hand, is finally making a strong challenge for the lead. He's going to get to the bottom of Ike Durbin there, and looks like the lapped car of Jerry Myatt's going to slide up right in front of Durbin, and that's going to provide all the momentum that Brian Gallagher needs to take the lead there on the bottom. So he finally gets a lap lead, looking for his 4th win of the season here. As here's Donnie Olson in 13th place, making a move around Lenny Jacobs, and something is amiss with that 8 car, because that was way too easy for Donnie Olson to get that pass, as he's just gotten quicker and quicker as this run has gone on, up into 11th now for the 65 team, looking for a very strong run here today. Louis Ballard is reporting that a cylinder has gone down on that 8 car. So he's already lost a number of positions. He's now outside the top 15, as that was Clay Gibson who got around him there. And going to be interesting to see how long the 8 team keeps him out on track, as he's losing about a second a lap at least. I'd imagine it'd be pretty soon if they want him to still be in contention at the end of this thing. So we'll keep an eye on this 8 car and see what the crew decides. Look at how this pack has just extended itself. Their cars are putting gaps between themselves quite a bit now as this run has gone on, and Brian Gallagher has James Hewitt as drafting help, as looks like Alina Lazareva, Gallagher's teammate, has worked her way up into the top 5, the 2014 series champion, having a strong run here today, right behind Alex Phillips, and that's Ben Atkins in front of her HJ Wheat Farmer still up there in 6th place, having a strong run as, yep, Louis Ballard comes into the pits on lap 76. Not sure if this is a scheduled stop, but we'll keep an eye on it and see what the rest of the field does, as Donnie Olson has worked his way up into the top 10 as he makes his move around Israel Brewster. He's going to make it 3 wide with Wilson, and looks like Wilson backs out of that just a little bit, but looks like Donnie Olson is going to be on the attack once again on the bottom, as his tires have not worn as much as some of these other cars. They're struggling to get around Jerry Myatt, and he finally does so as Myatt has an issue there. Jerry Myatt is done for the day. Suspension problems are going to put the 969 out, and one of the most consistent drivers this season as far as laps have run is going to fall out about 50 laps from the finish. So tough break for the 969 car. He was not having a great run, but he was still on track and on pace to do well, as Brian Gallagher has now opened up a 1.3 second lead on lap 85. So about 40 laps to go, and he's opened up a gap. Here's Frank Azaretto having a pretty strong run up at the top 15, and he goes up in smoke. So Azaretto's good day goes up in smoke from 13th. That's a tough break for him. He's going to hold up Clay Gibson and Akio Gifu there, but he's going to make it to the bottom. No caution's going to come out, but that's a tough break for Azaretto, who had won at Grand Detour and proved that he does actually belong in this series after middling results for the first half of the year. As look at this gap that Brian Gallagher's opened up with help from James Hewitt. He has now opened up a 2.6 second lead. That gap has doubled in the last 4 laps. So Brian Gallagher is on fire here and has been able to make his tires work a lot better than some other cars. Ben Worthington mentioned earlier that he announced that he was going to be in this car next year. Is having a pretty strong run. He's up in the top 15 in 15th place, and I believe green flag pit stops are about to start here in the next couple laps or so. Yep, we saw some cars committing there, but Alina Lazareva is going to be the first of the leaders. You got Donnie Olson coming in, and that's I believe that's Andy Lambert coming into the pits. As that's a bit of a slide up the track, as that's a jam up for the leader, as looks like a couple cars weren't sure if they were coming to the pits, and there's some smoke there, but no caution. So Brian Gallagher runs into some chaos coming towards pit road as Ike Durbin starts to close the gap there. Gonna see what that smoke is from. Looks like Ramsey Cockiner hit the wall and got turned by Lewis Jones there. He's gonna bounce off the wall and keep it going, but slides to the bottom of the track to get out of everyone's way. And he'd keep going with a bit of damage, as we've got Barbara Burt coming into the pits. There's Tom Wilson, Ben Worthington coming in on this next lap, and it looks like Ike Durbin's going to commit the following lap after that, which leaves now Brian Gallagher is finally going to come into the pits after a few laps of staying out. I think that was not the best call. He should have probably come in the lap that Ike Durbin did, but unnecessary wear on those tires now means that Lenny Jacobs is going to take the lead as he stays out an extra lap. He was running in about 10th place before green flag pit stops started, and he's going to finally come in as he hands the lead over now to Chris Benson, who has run no better than 31st all day. But Benson is going to get a valuable bonus point for leading that lap, and the help for Matthews Motorsports team to stay up in the series next year. They are fairly close to the cutoff line, but he finally brings it into the pits and is going to surrender the lead over. Looks like, that's Ben Worthington in the pits. That's some trouble for him. Electrical issues on the 6 car are going to put him out of the race under under green flag pit stops, excuse me. But now to see who this hands the lead over to, it's going to be Alina Lazareva, who is one of the first cars to come into the pits. Bad move for a lot of the leaders to stay out, as she has an absolutely massive gap, 5.5 seconds, over second place Ike Durbin. So coming in earlier was the right call, as tire wear for these cars has been pretty atrocious, as you see here. This is Brian Gallagher in 3rd place. We've got the 155 there in 4th. 5th, 6th are going to be Tom Wilson and Andy Lambert here, about 10.5 seconds back. That's quite a big gap, as looks like Alina Lazareva is trying to get around That's Louis Ballard in the 8 car, who came in early. His tires are already a bit worn compared to some of the others, and she is, I think, just fast enough to hang with him, but I don't think she's fast enough to get around him. As Louis Ballard slides up the track, but trying to make that bottom work, I don't think she's going to be able to do it. As there's a group of cars here. She's definitely got some drafting help. As speaking of drafting help, Brian Gallagher has already caught Ike Durbin here, but these two are still losing time. They've been battling to try and see who can be second, and side by side at this track is not going to work as far as catching the leader if you're going to stay side by side like that. So these two are shooting themselves in the foot. Maybe Brian Gallagher's trying to get the win for Alina Lazareva by holding Ike Durbin back. We're going to keep an eye on this and see if they eventually sort themselves out. I think Gallagher just wants to be the first of these two cars. He's going to clear him there. But we've got a pretty big gaggle that's opened up back here. This is the battle for, I believe, 4th place. As you see there, there's Lambert, you've got Burt, Olson's up there, Atkins is in this mess, but they're all being held back by Cale Bernhardt Jr. As here we're still side by side, the battle for 2nd place with 25 laps to go. This is still very close, and they're losing time. They're losing about a second every lap to the leaders, or at least to Alina Lazareva in that lead pack, but they finally get it sorted out, and it's about an 8.1 second gap right now, so we're going to have to keep an eye on this and see if they can't get themselves back up towards the front, because they did gain about a second the last couple laps. So we're going to see what happens here. As looks like Alina Lazareva has still not gotten around Louis Ballard, so that's very troubling. As Ballard on 10 lap older tires, you see there, he's sliding up the track. That's not looking good for Alina Lazareva, as she needs to get around him there. As looks like that last lap, Gallagher and Durbin were able to get around Sharp and Woodard with ease, so they have no cars between them and Alina Lazareva and her little lapped car pack is going on board as Gallagher. You can see the gap here, and it's shrinking ever so slightly. Couple laps later, and you can see they're on the same straightaway now, but I think they might just run out of time. It's a 3.5 second gap right now, and you can see just how fast they're closing. I think it's going to be too little too late, as Alina Lazareva is going to take the white flag, still not around Louis Ballard, but she's going to take a peek to the bottom and going to get alongside, but is not going to be able to make the pass and loses a bit of time there. But you can see the lead, the second and third place cars right there. But I think it's again going to be too little too late, as Alina Lazareva is going to back it down. Preston Bell pushing her, and Alina Lazareva is going to bunch of smoke on the front stretch, but Alina Lazareva is going to take her first win of the season for the 2014 series champion. Taking a look at the results, Brian Gallagher got within a second of Alina Lazareva at the end, but wasn't able to get the win. He finishes in second, with Ike Durbin in third right behind. Donnie Olson came from 32nd on the grid to finish 4th place, 7 seconds behind Alina Lazareva. Best run of the season for him, and that's going to do that team wonders in their struggle to get back into the series for next year. Ben Atkins, P5, led the most laps here today, but wasn't able to get the result he was looking for. Barbara Burt, P6, good run for her in that team's uncertain situation. Andy Lambert, P7, Tom Wilson, P8, Alex Phillips, P9, and Lenny Jacobs rounds out the top 10 in a good run for him with that one lap led, 34 points. Israel Bruce, P11, I believe that's his best finish of the season. Mark Burt, P12, good run for him. And Ian Elias finishes quietly, P13. Akio Gifu makes it all 3 Double B Motorsports cars up in the top 15, with Hank Jr. Wheat Farmer in 15th place. He was looking like a top 5 car for a lot of the race. James Hewitt, P16, was able to recover from that flat tire. He did lose a lot of ground at the end, being on such old tires though. Cameron Taylor, P17. And Gaspar de Souza recovered from being in 30th in the middle of that long stint. He's up in 18th place. Kurt Pliskin, P19, best of the Accelerator Motorsports cars. And Joe Craig rounds out the top 20 with a very quiet performance from him. Now, taking a look at the points, with only 2 races to go, Ike Durbin has opened up a 45-point lead over Ben Atkins, but Cleveland, don't forget, is a double points race, so that doesn't mean quite as much. However, even with Cleveland being a double points race, there are only 6 cars in contention for the championship mathematically, so everyone below Tom Delgado has been eliminated from championship contention. Louis Ballard had a good points day, up in 4th place. Now, Brian Gallagher, P5, Tom Delgado in 6th place, still in contention, but barely. Gaspar de Souza has been officially eliminated from championship contention, with Tom Wilson only 2 points back from 7th. Sapphire Anderson having a strong rookie campaign in 9th. Ian Elias rounds out the top 10, 1 point behind Anderson. And Mark Burt, P11, still in the thick of the Rookie of the Year battle with Sapphire Anderson there in 11th. Alina Lazareva up to P12 after her win today. Andy Lambert, P13, tied with Josh Marshall for that position. H.J. Wheatfarmer in 15th, the best of the Clayson Enterprises cars. Ramsey Cockner 1 point back in 16th after a rough day today. Duncan Cobb, P17, 494 points, with Barbara Burt 4 points behind him in 18th. Alex Phillips, P19, had a decent day today. And Akio Gifu makes his way back up into the top 20 on 442 points. And finally, taking a look at the team points, Manticore Engineering is still in first and has just about locked up the team championship, but it is now over Griffith Motorsports by virtue of their 1-2 finish here today over Paloma Autosport by 1 point. Paloma Autosport had been in 2nd place for the majority of the season. The only other changes are Johnson Racing up to 7th place over ROG Motorsports in 8th after their issues today. And Steffens Racing has jumped over Accelerator Motorsports to 13th, but they are still 91 points behind Lucas Motorsports in 12th place. So, well, both teams, Steffens Racing and Accelerator Motorsports, who are in relegation, are still in contention to get out of relegation. It's still going to be a tall order for them to get back into 12th.